Hey, what's up, and welcome into Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Thanks so much for downloading the podcast and checking me out on YouTube, youtube.com. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment to everything we do on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood, as we are brought to you by delicious Alexander James Whiskey. Yes, Alexander James Whiskey, the official whiskey for Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. They deliver to you wherever you are watching this podcast. They will deliver to you, or you can be able to find Alexander James Whiskey in your local grocery store. So make sure you check it out. Alexander James Whiskey, it goes down smooth. Yes, Alexander James Whiskey, the whiskey of choice for yours truly, Jonathan Hood. We got a very special guest that's coming up with us right now because there's a lot to talk about regarding journalism. And also, this man has a novel that's coming out that you need to know about. Robert Littal is going to be with us from blacksportsonline.com. Make sure that you subscribe to everything we do here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. We'll talk to Rob coming up next right here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Check out the latest that we have on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood as far as the Chicago Bears. College football season is right around the corner. I love SEC Media Days. Coach, let me ask you about what's going on with your football team. I love your football team. Let me get your thoughts. And they sit down. I love that, SEC Media Days. So we'll talk some college football this week as well. Bears training camp right around the corner. So it's all part of Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Robert Littal is the creator and CEO of blacksportsonline.com. Make sure that you go to blacksportsonline.com as we have our conversation with Rob right here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. As always, sir, appreciate your time.
No, thank you so much for having me on. Love what you're doing.
Rob, I need to talk to you about your new book that's coming out, Max Power, a Maxwell Powers mystery. Tell us about this novel. I look forward to everyone being able to pick up a copy and read what's going on with you.
Well, it's interesting. It was something that I've always, wanted to do, but really never had the time or really didn't know how, you would go about, writing a book. It's much different, writing a 500 word blog post and writing a 300-page, novel. So it was definitely a process, but I've always had this idea in that when I was a young person, I read a lot. Magazines, a lot of sports, back in the heyday, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, the magazine. I read a lot of books when I was a kid, books like The Outsiders, a lot of Greek mythology, just a lot of reading when I was young. And I felt that it really helped me as I got into my career in journalism. Just with my vocabulary, how I would be able to speak to people, learning new words and everything. And I felt like it was something that was missing, especially when it comes to our people, Black people.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I would read these novels as an adult, and it's James Bond, it's Jason Bourne, it's Jack Reacher, it's all these Jack Ryan, it's all of these adventure, thriller, mystery protagonists, right? But they all have a couple of things in common, right? They're white, they're ex-military, they're cops, they're detectives, they beat up everybody. They're smooth, they get all the ladies. It was. I started to see a trend with it, but then I realized, I said, something? Where is the Black James Bond? Where is the Black, Jack Reacher? And where is the guy, for us that we could say is the smooth, suave guy that we could make 30 movies or a TV show, off of? And that's really where the basis of the book comes in, is that I wanted to create this protagonist that not just Black people can relate to, but everybody that can relate to, but give them a little something different, a little something with a little more flavor, as I like to say. And that's where I came up with Maxwell Powers. But just like anything else, I had to come from the knowledge of what I know about. And what I know about is sports and, sports entertainment and what goes behind the scenes in media and scandal and things of that nature. So, this character, Maxwell Powers, he is an ex-NBA champion, someone that had experienced the highs of fame and money. But what do we see a lot? We see the highs, and then we see the downfall. So he didn't handle it very well. And he had a downfall where he lost a lot of his money, where he lost his fame, where gambling, drugs, women, all of this stuff corrupted him, to the point that when his career was over, he was on like the podcast saying, "Oh man, let me tell you how $100 million is not a lot of money." He was one of those type of guys. But he has a unique skill, and his skill is what we see as athletes. One of the things that we always say about athletes is that they see things before they happen. They have an uncanny knowledge of a way of seeing the game, quarterbacks or point guards or people like LeBron or Jokic or Brady, or even Allen Iverson. Just the way they move, the way they see things is totally different. Well, what if that skill wasn't put, towards an athletic thing, but were put toward like real life, solving a mystery? So when Maxwell's little brother, I call him, his mentee, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, calls him up and says, "Hey man, I'm in this hotel room and this girl is dead in my bed and I don't remember what happened. I need your help because, if the media, if TMZ finds out about this, I'm finished."
Right.
And Maxwell goes over to, to that hotel to help his friend. He has to use, what's up here to figure out, the mystery, the same way he had to figure out how to throw that pass or make that shot. And, that's kind of the duplicity, of it all, showing that an athlete's mind is really the superpower as much as their bodies. And then, we add in the requisite, fame, fortune, mischief, mystery, misdirections, red herrings, and things of that nature. But I felt like it could be something that everyone relates to, because what is the things that, we talk about, so much now is that when a scandal hits, or somebody died or somebody got shot or this guy got caught or his baby mama found him here, what if we made that into a book, but high level? And these are high level guys. These are high level people. These are owners of franchises and things of that nature that's involved. These are wives and kids and multi-million-dollar contracts and backdoor dealing and fixers in Vegas. All of that stuff that you see in these little short versions on social media is now encompassed in this book, which I hope will start a series for me. So I hope people enjoy it, and it has the type of hook that, will bring them in.
Rob, how much is the story and the idea kind of based on an amalgamation of the stories that you've broken as a journalist?
That's a very good question. It's loosely based off of true story. You're the first one that I've actually ever told this, because we're still kind of in the part where we haven't, the pre-orders are not quite up, so I haven't done a lot of media on it yet, or even a lot of social media on it yet. But I will give you kind of the exclusive on this, and the fact that a very, 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 very young part of my career, when I was just getting out of college, and I was just starting BSO, I actually got a text, a call from a young lady that was at a hotel. This is a true story. A team was there. I'm not gonna say any names or anything, but let's just say a team was having a party on the road at this particular hotel, and one of her friends or associates, they overdosed, at the thing. But her thing was, that was kind of the official cause. But she always felt like there was something nefarious that may have happened in the room with some of these famous, athletes, and it was swept under the rug. Like, you've never heard about it. The hotel didn't want anybody to know about it. The cops swept it. I don't know, but I definitely happened because she was there, and I know it happened. And I actually gave me the name, and the lady was deceased, and it was overdose and things like that. So the premise of the story actually is, what if it wasn't covered up? What if the police, came in and saw this, and it was just one person, one superstar, not a team, so they really couldn't put. So that, all of the stories that we hope to do with Maxwell throughout the series are definitely based on things that I've either seen or heard, or rumors that I couldn't, confirm, and then put in a fictional, form. But that's where the actual premise of the story comes from. It comes from a real life story of a woman being basically found dead, and nobody on the team knows what happened. So, we just, break that down to like a singular person, a singular athlete. And I don't want to put like people out there, but I like, just, imagine if today your favorite athlete, you says, oh, he was found in a hotel room with this woman, and he's married and with kids and stuff. Just imagine what type of media circus that would be. But then also trying to figure out what exactly happened in that room. Actually, I think I remember even another story long time ago where Colin Kaepernick, before he had got into his activism, he was in a hotel room and some weird stuff had happened, and the girl said she was kidnapped, and they couldn't really tell if she was telling the truth or not. So the stories kind of write themselves, and it's just about expanding out the story in the fiction. You don't want to get sued or anything,
right? Yeah.
But and the characters and everything. But I think to me, those have always been the biggest stories on BSO. And it's just so my thought process is, what if we bring this out to the literary world and give them a little glimpse of what really goes on inside of the world of sports and entertainment?
So a Maxwell Powers mystery, we can pre-order, sounds like, right?
Yeah, so the pre-orders are going to be up really soon, probably like within the next month or so.
Okay.
With a full book release, actually, I decided that I wanted to have it during Super Bowl week because it's in LA. Super Bowl's in LA. Our main protagonist is a Super Bowl. I mean, one of our protagonists is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Obviously, celebrities and athletes are all going to be in town. So I thought it kind of really fit into what we're trying to do, with the book. But up until that, point, I will be out, doing book tours, signings, podcasts, interviews, anything I can do to promote the book. Because, like I said, to me, it's a fun book. It's an interesting book. It's something that I don't want you to have to put down. It's not to be taken too seriously or too literally, because some of the books that I read, unfortunately, when they do have, like, say, Black protagonists, it's a very sad story. It's maybe it's talking about, what happened in the Deep South or, what. And those books are very important because, you never want to overlook, history and stuff. But they're mostly nonfiction. You don't see a lot of fiction books where the main characters are Black, and they're the ones that are driving the story in mainstream literary, media. A lot of romance novels, but not a lot of thrillers, and not a lot of fiction, and not a lot of murder, mystery. So this is like, my version of Knives Out or Clue, for everybody. And I, like I said, I hope that, people like it. And then, I want to make it into a big thing to, where we have studios and people are interested in the rights, because then I feel like I'll be able to give back to our community. Because here's the thing, if you have Black characters, you need Black actors and Black actresses.
Correct.
You need Black writers, you need Black staff, and that's definitely something that I've alerted my agent to, that, when we're talking to, these studios, that, hey, this is not something that can be whitewashed, because Maxwell is the type of thing you can make him into Tom Brady if you wanted to, but we definitely don't want to do that. He can be Cooper Flag, but we don't want to do
that. I just want the audience to know how smart Rob is here. He saw that the Super Bowl would be in Los Angeles in his backyard. And so he felt like, well, I don't want to go to New Orleans or go to New York and be able to lug all these books. He wants to be able to go to the crib, be able to have a few books, go to Radio Row, go to these parties, be able to talk about this so he can go right back home. That's very good, absolutely. Rob. It's very smart, very savvy.
Here, listen, it's very difficult. It's easy for somebody to tell you no in an email, right?
Yes.
But when I walk up on you, like, hey, you guys know who I am. I mean, you guys not doing nothing. You give me 10 minutes, on your show, and I'll, like I said, I'll walk around Radio Row. I have connections with all of these networks and all of these streaming sites and all of these podcasters. It's time to call in those 20 years worth of favors. I've done a lot of favors for people over the years. It's time to collect.
Yes, you have. You've done me the favor for many years on Under the Hood. So I appreciate that. I like the idea that Rob is not going to be the DJ that's lugging the records around, going upstairs. He's in LA, so he's got his book, and he'll just be able to go to all the spots in Los Angeles where the Super Bowl will be held and be able to promote the book there. So I'm very happy for you for that.
Thank you. I hope to even get a spot maybe on Radio Row. I can do my podcast there, and then have books available, for people obviously to be available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all that stuff. I'm doing the audio recording for the audio book, so if you like hearing my sexy voice, you can hear that for 8 hours, too. Because I actually had some people they're like, oh, you should get a narrator, and I'm like, And I tried some people out, and I'm like, this doesn't sound like my guy. You
Right.
know, I know my characters. I've been talking on screen I can do this. So,
Yeah.
I sat down and got my studio together, and I got my little lights on and everything. And I've been doing my chapters, and that'll be when the pre-orders come out. So the audiobook pre-orders as well. So any way you want it, I got it.
I love that. I love that. I want to talk to you also, Rob, about the state of journalism in 2026. I saw that you had a back and forth with longtime ESPN former anchor Stan Verrett, who's always got a lot of things to say about culture and about journalism. You guys had a great conversation on X about this. What would you say is journalism in 2026?
Well, it's not your dad's,
No?
journalism.
Yeah.
Like I said, what I was trying to explain to people is I've seen a lot in my day, only because I've kind of crossed over these eras of journalism and been in the middle of it the entire time. When I was at Ohio State, it was still traditional journalism. You learned the AP style book back and forth. If you wanted to be in journalism, you either did the newspaper, you did the local news, or you did local radio. And those were your options. You had to know how to write. You had to know how to edit. You had to know how, if you want to do TV, you had to know how to edit these big old blocks, videos, old school, real type of videos and stuff. And then just, I don't know, by luck or happenstance, the internet and social media kind of explodes in the 2010s, around the same time that I'm creating this website, something that I initially learned while I was in school, how to build websites and things of that nature. And now all of a sudden you see this shift from, I have to go get a newspaper, I have to get a magazine, I have to go watch the 6 p.m. Sports Center to, oh, somebody could tell me exactly who got traded in real time. And initially, that was good for independent media like us because we didn't have to go through all the oversight as, say, a traditional media. So if we had a rumor or we saw something that was happening, we can report on it faster. We could take more risk. And because people were consuming the information so fast, all of a sudden the independent media became very, very popular because we were kind of breaking the norms in the way that we were talking about the stories, the way we were breaking the stories, the way that we were fast to the stories. And it took a while for mainstream media to catch up. But when they did catch up, they have something that, basically the independent media doesn't have. Money, lots and lots of money. So now they can pay Adam Schefter whatever he makes, $5 million a year. And Adam really doesn't. I mean, let me rephrase. I want to say he doesn't do anything. But before, Adam Schefter would have to write a story or he would have to go on TV. Right now, they're paying Adam Schefter to break the news. They're paying Shams to tweet, more or less. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was something that was just specific to independent media for a long time. That was okay, because in my eyes, no one could quite do it when you're independent. Like nobody can copy a BSO style, or nobody can copy a Barstool style or a Bossip style, whatever it may be, a TMZ style. Everybody had their own thing. But here's where the problem happened, and this is where me and Stan kind of differ in. Once Trump kind of got into social media, right? Presidents, they would tweet out stuff, but they weren't really prevalent in social media, just as a tool, but not something to have a conversation with. But once he got involved and he uses misinformation to kind of do whatever he does, and the social media, the people that own the social media companies kind of started to bow down to him, you started to lose the integrity of social media. And what I mean by that is, before, if you wanted to be verified on Twitter, it was a process.
Yeah.
You wanted to be verified on Facebook or Instagram, you had to prove that you were a legitimate media person. I mean, you just couldn't do it. Today, you can pay $9.99 or $14.99. Anybody can.
Yeah.
Anybody in the world. It could be, it can be criminals or whatever. Anybody could do it. And once that happened, and you got paid for it. See, the way you used to get paid before is that you didn't get paid directly through TikTok or Twitter or Facebook. You would have to create a story and have people come back into your platform to get paid. Mm-hmm. Once they start paying people out and not really caring how or what they posted, it became very hard to actually figure out what the real information was. So now you have individuals, parody accounts, fake accounts, trolls, whatever you want to call it. They're just posting whatever, and it's getting millions and millions and millions of views. And your real quote unquote journalism is getting pushed further and further down.
Give that example that you put out today about Jay Billis.
Correct. Yeah. So there was a fake tweet that said Jay Billis basically got fired. Mm-hmm. Guy, in his defense, the guy that tweeted clearly says he's a parody account on his account. 4,000 followers. Last time I looked, it's something like 1.5 million views. The ESPN posted out a 30 for 30, which I thought was interesting, about Hines Ward, because, Asian and Black and what he went through and all. Looked like really cool stuff, probably a lot to produce, at 40,000 views in the same amount of time. People seem to care more about the misinformation than the real information. And so what I was trying to express was not to deter people for trying to get into sports media. I think some people took it that way. What I was trying to express is that you have to be real about what these companies and what these people online are actually interested in. And they're not interested in your degree. They're not interested in your 5,000 word essay on whatever you want to talk about. What people are interested in is whatever their niche is and whatever entertains them. So if you want to be a Steelers reporter, like a Pittsburgh Steelers reporter, maybe before you go to college, you get you spend your 4 years, spend all your money, get your 4 years. You work for the Pittsburgh Gazette. You make your way up. You become the main. There used to be steps, right?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to tell people, that one guy's like, you're skipping steps, and I'm like, yeah, but those steps don't exist anymore.
That is true.
So somebody told me a long time ago, when people say, work harder, work smarter, not harder. If you can bypass certain things and still get paid to do it. So what my point was, I know what these companies are looking for. I know that ESPN may be more interested in a guy, let's say, that has 1 million TikTok followers that talk about the Steelers than a guy that graduated from Northwestern and is still lugging around to talk about the Steelers. Because the $1 million TikToker already has the built-in platform, even if he couldn't even went to school. And I say that, and I'm like, you can't tell me I'm wrong, because look at the World Cup. Who's out there performing? Speed.
Yeah.
And I love Speed because he created a platform and he used that platform, but he just was doing it in his house. Kai Cien and all of these guys, all they did was create a platform. They didn't go to school. They just figured out how to entertain the thing. So what I was trying to explain to people is that if you want to go to college, which I'm a big proponent of for life experience, find something else that you're interested in that could potentially, you get a job in, because there are degrees that are like, those are really nice degrees to put on the wall. And then there's degrees that as soon as you leave college, you get a job. Mm-hmm. Like my cousin, I told him this, he's very smart. He said, I want to do literature. I'm like, no, you don't. And he did aerospace engineering, and he works in SpaceX. He's 23 years old, making 6 figures in Houston or wherever the hell they're at. Yeah. They just bought him a house. It's $500,000. He's 23, 24 years old. Okay. Because he had a degree of something that people need, because he's smart. And I'm like, yeah, if you want to teach later literature, you can. Mm-hmm. You know why? Because you're financially stable. You got a crib. You can do whatever you want now. So that was really my point, was find something that you like to do in college that can make you some money, and focus on your brand, focus on your followers, focus on that, because that is your degree in sports media right now.
23.
It's what you bring to the table.
23 years old. I couldn't rub 2 White Castles together at age 23.
I told people, I think I told somebody, I said, if I was 21 years old today, That's all I would do. I would be online constantly.
Yeah.
I think as you get older, what you realize you can't do that. You got family, you got kids, you got responsibility. You can't be streamed. But if I was a kid today, that's all I would do because I see who they give the jobs to. I see who they invite. I have a reporter that does the NBA. Daniel, I'm sure you've seen him before. He covers Oklahoma City, and he went to the All-Star game, and even the finals. He was at the finals, and he's like, half of these people are just kids. They're influencers. They're kids with platforms, and he's like, every year the older OGs come down, and I see more and more things. When I did the NBA finals, I was like 29 years old, and I was the youngest person there. When I covered my first boxing event, I was 26, 27 years old. I was the youngest person. They talked down to me like I was a child because you used to have to work your way up to that. Now they got 19, 18s, 20-year-olds in the building, but these 20-year-olds have millions of people that hang on every word that they make. So I know it's tough. And I think what happens is I'm trying to, when you've been like Stan has been through it, but he had a 20+ year career at ESPN. It's different now. He couldn't do that now. Yeah. And even now he has to do streaming and other stuff to kind of, stay in there. And so it also, and this is kind of the last point that I make, just turn on your TV at any time. And what you will see almost 9 out of 10 times is you will see a couple of white guys that have never played sports, right? Maybe a white woman, of course, who's never played sports. You'll see black women, of course, who probably never played sports. And then you'll see 5 black ex-athletes, men. You never see black men that haven't played sports on TV. They don't give those opportunities. If you watch the Final Four, they have a white guy host that have never played ball in his life. And then they have 4 black guys that used to play ball. And that's not a knock on the white guys or whatever. It's just the opportunity. There's no James Brown happening anymore. There's no Stuart Scott happening anymore. And that's what I was telling Stan. There's no all of these, the Fred Hickman, the guys that I grew up with, Wiley and stuff. Even people like Jamel Hill and Michael Smith, they have phased the black man who's not a non-athlete out of prominent positions in sports media. The ones that you do see have been around for a while. Stephen A. Smith is for a while. But where's the next Stephen A. Smith? Where's the next Ralph Wiley? Where's the next Stu Scott? If I ask you, who's the next rising black male who never played star in media, you'd be hard pressed to find a name. But when I was growing up, I was like, oh man, Michael Smith is out there and all these. There was a bunch of them.
Mike Hill,
Stan, Mike.
Yeah,
there was a ton of them that you could see on TV that they were not necessarily ballers, and you can say I aspire to get to their level. Now, if they are on there, they're not prominently shown. Situations happen like Andres Hale getting laid off just because he actually is he's too honest. Brian Clark, too honest, too flamboyant, whatever it may be. So as a black guy, a black man, and you're 22 years old, you can find a lot of black streamers. You can find a lot of black kids that are on Kick and on TikTok, that are on Instagram, that are on YouTube, that are making money and doing it great, but you don't see them in your traditional TV things. And that's all I was just trying to say. And that is, it's kind of, it upsets me because I thought by the time that I got to the ages of the Stuart Scotts, of the Stanford Reds, and once I got to those type of careers, I figured there would be like 100 BSOs.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think I was just still BBS. You understand what I'm saying? I thought it would be 100 of me, because when I came out, it was just me independently, is what I'm saying. So I thought it would be so many more independent black men that would be in the business by the time I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm ready to write books and do whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not, and it's kind of frustrating.
I guess, Rob, my issue as someone who's been doing this for 35 years is that I can understand that there is going to be a difference between the traditional media and where we are today. But the thing that I have a problem with is the lack of accountability and the responsibility to have a story. Like, it's one thing to have a million TikTok followers, Instagram, people like you as an influencer. But at the same time, though, it's like, even if you're making up a story, if you get the story wrong, no one's backtracking. There is no more, like in the bottom of the paper, error by the editor. We meant to say this and that, and so we regret the error. We don't get that anymore. It's like they just move on with the next take, and that's the problem. How can I believe in you? Not as a journalist, because I don't think you call that journalism, but as someone that's an influencer that's talking about the news or reporting on the news, but yet you get it wrong and you report it as fact, and then there's never a correction. That's my problem with it.
Well, there's so many faceless accounts.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And sometimes these faceless accounts pretend to be black, but they're actually ran by white people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the early days of blogging where, somebody could have a blog, you didn't know who they were. So you didn't know who was writing it and stuff. And it's kind of come full circle because half of these accounts, like, you don't know who owns them. You don't know who's running them. Like, I don't know who runs Mixtape or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know who runs Hater Report and all of these stuff. And I'm not knocking them or anything. I'm just saying you don't know what the intentions are. And there's no, like I said, there's no consequence. I mean, like I said, I remember the first day that I walked in the NBA finals, and somebody from the NBA, when I got my credential, they pulled me aside because back then they didn't really like giving credentials to like website people. It was, it's always had to be TV, radio, and stuff. And I remember he pulled me aside, and I didn't take it personal. I thought he was saying it more out of concern because he liked me, and I think he had helped me get in. But he pulled me to the side and he said, "Listen, if you mess up, you're not just messing up for yourself, you're messing up for everybody behind you that may want to get an opportunity. So, be very careful and cautious and make sure you're doing it." That's a heavy burden to put on somebody at their first, event. It's like you have to participate because they're like, well, he's not doing anything. He just here. He just while he's being a fan. But if you ask the wrong question or you upset the wrong, athlete, not necessarily. Now I'm out, and then maybe somebody behind me is out. But that's the type of pressure that we used to feel. If I got a story wrong on BSO, and I remember one time, wasn't even my fault, but I reported something on Bronny James, and I was actually trying to debunk a rumor about the Bronny James and Larsa Pippen, and I was in retrospect, maybe I didn't word it the right way that I should have worded it. But then one of those other accounts took it and they manipulated what I said and changed the wording around and put BSO under it.
No.
And it gets caught up in the algorithm. Savannah James is mad now. I can't do this. LeBron is talking. And these are people that I've seen, right? I mean, to the point where I had to hit up Maverick Carter and was like, I knew somebody that knew Mav, and I had did something for the Undisputed or whatever they were doing at the time. I forget what the name of that company is, but I had met them, and I knew somebody. And hey, man, I didn't. It's not what it says it is. They just took it and then they just ran with it. And I remember Mav said, "LeBron don't care. This stuff happens to him all the time." he said, but Savannah, he said, let me try to get you in touch with Miss Savannah. And I remember that I didn't talk to Savannah that particular day. He said, I explained it to her, don't worry about it, don't trip or anything, just let it blow past. And I remember I saw her at a game and she saw me and she was like, "You have kids?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You gotta be better. You gotta be more careful." She said, "I heard what they said. That's my son. You got to be careful. He's famous, And this was like when Bronny was like maybe 17 or 18.
Okay.
Before he even had his heart. So yeah, he's in high school.
Okay.
So you got to be better. You got to, you can't always just try to get the story. She's like, and I think that's what she was trying to explain. She said, it's cool, but you want us. And because I was playing, so, I covered LeBron knew who I was. I covered like 7 NBA finals because when he went back to back to back to back, it's like you just got it. And I felt all like sad stuff, but
yeah,
but being held to a standard is why today, if I say something, people listen.
Yeah.
And that's because, they hold me to a higher standard. And it's frustrating to me because I feel somewhat responsible because this kind of world of sports and sports entertainment is something I was doing before it got popular. But it was always under the premise that, I'm only going to tell what's out there. I'm going to backtrack. I'll be factual with it. I'm not going to just make up stuff. But now it's like, it's just a free for all. And people have taken something that I helped, a genre, an era that I helped create, and they turn it into something that's just, getting on social media is almost like, it's sad that if somebody put a caption under a video, you can't trust the caption.
Yeah.
You have to watch the video because they will just lie on the caption.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the thing with Jamel Hill today, where she jokingly said, she's going to resign, and they wrote like these outlets wrote like 5 stories on it. She worked there for 5, 6, 7 years. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about.
Was Outkick on it? I'm sure they might have been on it first.
I mean, that's the other thing is that, an outlet like Outkick started off just straight. You know what I mean? They just was like, kind of a bootleg bar stool, right? But it's so frustrating to me because basically being borderline, if not outright racist, can make you a multimillionaire in media, right? Like you can literally just be like, say, you could just parrot everything that Trump says, and people will give you money. If you're black and you talk about black people will give you money. I remember during a kind of a low point, a company came to me, or the head of a company came to me. It was like, hey, we're interested in bringing you on. I said, okay, well, what's the, it's like, hey, they tried to talk around it, but the premise was they were getting a lot of heat for their lack of, let's say, diversity.
Sure.
And some of that thing. They wanted me as a shield. They're like, you have credibility in your community. So we need you to come over here. And when somebody calls us racist or somebody calls us this, we could just say, well, here's Rob. And I'm like, and they said it in the most professional, disrespectful way I've ever heard. It was essentially like, look, this is the way the game is played. We're going to pay you very well. We promote all of this. We help you get on these shows. And I mean, it was presented but at the crux of it was, we are a whitest company that has a bad reputation with black people, and we need a black person, a token, so to speak,
sure,
to basically be able to put out there to say, basically, I have a black friend.
Yeah.
And I didn't, obviously I didn't take the position, or I didn't come in on it, but somebody else did. I mean, you can kind of you can figure it out for yourself. You can see who, you can see. It could probably be a couple of companies you could probably see, but it happened, so
I know.
It's very, like I say, it's a very frustrating time.
Do you and the staff have a lead on the social media person who leaked the LeBron press conference link to the Miami Heat? What's the latest on that story?
There is a rumor, just a rumor, that it was somebody that maybe was going to be unemployed soon, and wanted to, put that out there as kind of a FU and goodbye. I don't know. I mean, either way, it's kind of weird because if he does sign, obviously somebody knew in advance. If he doesn't sign, I think that lets you know that somebody was just trying to screw around with him. But let's say he was going to sign and this pisses him off and he tried to sign somewhere else. We may never, know. Once again, no oversight in who we're hiring. And I said the social media coordinator or whoever handles is more important to the company now than the reporter. Because if you notice, it's been more social media controversies than reporter controversy. Remember, like when Caitlin Clark got punched in the throat or whatever?
Yeah,
and they put the little the social media coordinator, the social media lead has more pressure on them than the guy that, just writing about practice. You know what I mean?
That's something. Wow.
Isn't that crazy? The,
It
the
is.
person that just is posting pictures and little videos and one sentence thing, they literally can cause an eruption that ripples through an entire league on one TikTok or one YouTube or one tweet, but they get paid like an intern. So that once again, just another thing that's kind of crazy to me.
It is wild. Here in Chicago, you would think, Rob, you would think that there would be like billboards and a lot of acclaim about the WNBA All-Star game being in our city.
Yeah.
And it is, I'm here to tell you, let me be first to give this exclusive to BSO. It is not. There is not a lot of buzz about the W. First of all, let's start here. The Chicago Sky is the worst run franchise in Chicago, and Jerry Reinsdorf's still alive. So that's amazing to say that, right? The McCaskies are still alive with the Chicago Bears, and Reinsdorf is running the White Sox and the Bulls. This franchise here, there should be a documentary about how poorly that the Chicago Sky fumbled the bag to the point where there's no All-Stars in the All-Star game. And look, I have a lot of people that I know that I talk to a lot about the WNBA, and they are just stunned at a big market like this and how poor the Chicago Sky are. And so the timing couldn't be worse from the Angel Reese story. She's no longer here. She's with the Atlanta Dream to what is happening with Skylar Diggins, where she has a knee injury that she has not been playing for a while when she was benched. So, I just want to get your overall thoughts about the league in general. The Sky won, but then just the way the league is run, this is a cash cow. And you talk about fumbling the bag from the commissioner to the floor, Caitlin Clark, all this nonsense in the first half. But where are we with the WNBA in 2026 for you?
Hey, I agree. I mean, it's the first time in my 20-plus year career that I said, something, I'm not going to have any discussions with people about the WNBA. I report on it. I may give a opinion on it, but don't expect me to go back and forth because you're crazy. These people are crazy. Okay. They've literally lost their mind. And my wife had to break it down to me. She's like, you're getting upset. I'm like, because these people, like, there's no point. And it was so funny. I went and saw the Odyssey, the Christopher Nolan movie. And I'm kind of weird with stuff like this, but I was watching the Odyssey and it was packed on a Monday. And I'm thinking to myself, when all the people online that's talk all crazy and stuff, they asked Christopher Nolan about it, and he's like, these people are insignificant. I make the stuff that I want to make. It makes money. I cast who I want to cast. I'm the boss. And just some real boss stuff. You know what I mean? Like, then I was thinking about the WNBA, and they are so reactive to everything. They're so sensitive to everything. It just, I think, it has allowed things to fester because they just didn't stamp it out. You know what I mean? Like there are certain things that you just have to stamp out and say, I love when people say this. I'm going to talk about this one time, and then that's it. And we're going to focus on what we're going to focus on. Because if you keep talking about it over and over and over and over again, all it does is just it helps the person that is trying to get you to react. Well, they keep reacting. So what I'm going to do, I'll keep poking them. I'll keep poking them. I'll keep poking. And I think the problem with the WNBA is that I just don't think they were ready for what happened. It's very hard to go from, it's like they always say people go from poor to rich, right? It's a culture shock to you. I don't think they really understood what they were getting in Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and just the wave. It was a tidal wave. It was a monsoon. It was coming. Now, smart people was like, when it's coming, leave your house. If they're like, we're just gonna stay through the storm. And they had two individuals that were on a rocket, but those two individuals had a little bit of this. You gotta, right from the beginning, you gotta put that together. You gotta kumbaya that. You know what I'm saying? You gotta cultivate that. You gotta, if you're the commissioner You got to go to the WNBA draft and tell Caitlin Clark, say, hey, when Angel Reese is drafted and she comes back down, you walk up there, you give her the biggest, hug of all time. You high five her. You guys do a little handshake and something. You bring this temperature down. Just like it's easy. It's like it's not even hard.
Right.
It's like they're both. They just kept hoping it would go away.
Yeah. Bird magic.
Yeah, they just
but that formula, right? The bird magic.
Yeah,
where black and white equals green, right?
Yeah. Just and here's the thing, because they know each other. They played each other since high school. So, and then when you have like the Chicago Skyfall specifically, you have a franchise that is flailing. When Adam Silver and when David Stern before him, they step in, they take over if need be. If there's a problem, they take over. And you just had too many people. There should have been a meeting, and I honestly believe this. You sit down all the owners, right, and have a uniform take. Don't go out and say everybody should be an all-star, everybody should be unified take. You sit down, the WNBA PA, sit down with the players. Listen, we've been broke for many, many, many years. We're about to be rich. Now, you may not like how it's happening, right? But it is happening. And these young people that are coming in, and it's not just Caitlin. Caitlin, I think, everybody a wave has to start. But then when a wave happens, more people come. And you get Olivia, and then you're going to get, you got all these other people. And then people get to see Asia because they didn't watch Asia before, but now they do. You get this wave, and then you got more, people coming. The girl from USC, you got all. So the wave is coming. And I think what happened is they don't understand, and it's an audience issue because they've always played like this. It's always been kind of a roughneck, type of league. You have to be like, yeah, we fight on the court, and I think the NBA does a good job of this. Yeah, we do all this on the court, but then we at the fashion show together.
Yeah,
we had Fanatics together. We were Michael Rubin together. We're in Paris together. So it stays on the court because people know it's just a court thing. It's like it's a nobody takes Dylan Brooks and LeBron seriously. It's like a fun thing,
Yeah.
But it's not. WNBA is not fun anymore, and I don't think it's going to stop the money because people are still going, people are still watching. They got a lot of young stars coming up, but they could have overtaken some leagues. I thought, I thought that they could. I'm not saying they would have been the NBA over the night or anything like that. If they had done this correctly, and we were all on the same page, we would have been sitting there like, hey, it's WNBA night. Let's all sit together and talk about the game. But now, if it's WNBA night, it's gonna be you gotta put your battle hat on before you get out there.
Man, oh man. Rob, last thing I have for you, and I appreciate your time. You and the staff continue to crank out stories and let us be aware of what's going on out here, just like not just on the floor, but behind the scenes. Is there anything that surprises you anymore, you and your staff, based on everything that you cover on a daily basis? Anything that you raise your eyebrow and say, wow, I can't believe that?
It's funny because I've pretty much seen it all at this point, but there is always a story. Like there's always a story that comes out. And I'm like, how? Like the Detroit Lions DB with the kidnapping and all of that. So I'm like, what are we talking about? You see, certain things. I will say I do still get surprised. I still wake up every morning saying, well, what's going to be out there, today. I think the sad part of it is I really still love sports and the stories. I've always liked communicating with people about it. And one thing I learned early on in my career is I was the type of person that could have a disagreement with someone. If it was about sports or movies or whatever, TV, comic books or whatever, I never took it off. Like I never was upset after. Like we could argue and yell but now it's like you can't just have conversations without someone taking it, way too far. And I think that's the sad part. But it's life is changing. I guess this is how life works when you get older. And I was telling somebody this, like, when you were young and your mom's like, well, I just listen to this music. And they're like, why your mom listen to that old music? Dad listen to that old music. We got new music now. And I don't think I listen to anything that came out like after 2010, right? Like when I listen, I'm like, and my daughter was like, I'm listening to my oldest daughter. It was like, I'm listening. I'm like, who? Like the K-pop. I'm like, who are these people? I've never heard these people, before. But I'm concerned, I would say, for the future of sports media because it's just not. We're not getting the type of thing. My hope, and it's just a hope, is that once this regime changes, things get back on a little bit more, solid footing. What I've now learned is that one thing about the presidency is that the country kind of goes the way the country goes, the way the president goes. And when we had, I think, President Obama, there was kind of a calm, like nature that at least like hope. I guess that was his theme. Right now, it's like everything is war. Everything is safe. So I'm hoping whoever comes in next, there's a calming presence, and that we get a little bit more accountability with the media. We get back to like facts. Get back facts. To it's because it's hard. Like, now, granted, by then I'm hoping to be a best-selling author. And you never see. I think you might even saw it. I think right before you DM me, I said I was getting so frustrated. I text my literary agent.
Yeah.
And my agent had told me how many copies I needed to have a sequel book, right?
Yes.
Not a lot, 1,000 copies.
Yes.
I could probably do that, right? I think I have 1,000 fans. And maybe, I can get 1,000 copies. Cool. I can get book number 2. I can make a couple of dollars. Fine. But I was like, well, honestly, like if I just didn't want to work again and just wanted to write books and I, make enough money to, pay more, like good. I said, how many books would I have to sell to make $100,000? That's what I asked. And they told me the number. And I put my head down.
Uh-oh.
And here's what the mistake that I made afterwards. She gave me the number, which is a lot. And I put the number in the AI, the Chat GPT. I said, how many authors have sold X amount of copies in their first book, or how many people have sold amount of copies this one in the last whatever. And it came back, said, hey, Robert, how you doing? Hope you're having a great day. We hope the book, how to chat always set you up. And it's like, yeah, based on what you tell us, about 1%. I'm like,
oh no.
But I will say this: the AI, because the AI, loves you or whatever. The AI said, but Robert, you're not a typical first time author. You have a platform and all of this stuff. So we're going to increase your chances to 6.5%. I was like, okay.
ChatGPT shining you up, making you feel good, put you on a nice pedestal.
I said, I'm up to see. I don't know what calculation they use, but they're like, okay, we give you a 6.5% chance to sell these amount of books. So your boys will be out here working hard. I have no idea how it's going to go because obviously I've never tried to sell a book, and it's definitely different than running a media, site. You have to get people to spend their hard-earned money on it. Granted, there will be some discounts and ebooks and things like that you don't have to pay the the $19.99. Clearly trying to branch over into a different world. So we can just cross our fingers. But anybody that I talk to, I'm like, just a little prayer, just because I want to move out in the out where Agatha Christie. I want to move out where there's a lot of trees but then my agent was like, but Robert, if you just give up all of the stuff that you do, then how are you going to promote? I'm like, God damn, you're right. Like the platform is how I can, get people to buy the book. But if I leave the platform, then I don't have nowhere to promote the book. And I was like, oh, they got me to catch-22. I can't get out.
That seems like a lot, Rob. But you know what?
Yeah.
You're in LA and you're going to be able to do it right the Super Bowl. It's perfect.
Here's the thing, man. I'll be honest with you. I joke a lot, but if one person bought it or 10 people, as long as I see it on the shelf, I feel good about myself because I did it, and it's hard to do. What I learned is that it's a hard thing to do. And when I tell my agent, they're like, I say, I already got the sequels lined up. And they're like, really? It take people 3-4 years to write a book. I said, no, it take me 3 months. It's up here. I got a gift. I just got to get it out. But like I said, it's just a blessing to have people that actually believe in you enough to have a publisher, to have an agent, to have a PR person. My wife has been amazing. She's on TikTok every day talking to these book people like, hey, my husband is coming out with a book. Do you want to promote it? Like, just everybody's like being real cool and helpful about it. And all the people like yourself have to come on to talk about it. And hopefully I come back on when it's closer to the time.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate everybody. And I tell people, trust me, if it hits, Jonathan Hood's gonna be right at the studio, right up at Paramount, or Amazon Studios. I tell people, I'm dead serious. It's like, if you help me and I get on, your appearance may be only you walking across the street, but you'll get $500 for that day. I'm gonna put you on.
Okay.
If you help me sell some copies,
yes,
that's going to be in my contract. They'll be like, what do you want? I was like, I want the money, and I want to be able to have certain people in the movie or in the series or whatever. Like, they don't have to have parts or whatever, but you need people walking across the street. You got somebody, need somebody opening the door, and I like, here's my list. And so call these people up and put them in whatever, because they helped me. And so I'm dead serious about that. So you are on the list, Mr. Hood.
Okay. Well, Rob, we're recording. So
no, you locked in.
Okay. Okay. Just so you know.
Get your plane ticket ready for LA.
Okay. Just so you know, I'm ready. Because it's being recorded. So I will hold you to that, sir. I definitely will.
Absolutely.
All the best to you, man, with this book. And again, when we get closer to the Super Bowl, or definitely at the end of the year, we need to talk about this again and other stories. So thank you for coming on the show for so many years. We haven't talked in a while, but I'm glad that we're able to connect today.
Appreciate you, brother. You have a great one. Thank you so much.
Great conversation with Robert Littal from blacksportsonline.com. Just check out the website, maybe bookmark it, because there's always news and stories that's coming out of there. Some things that you might not have known about your favorite athletes. Rob and his staff has been going at this for 20 years. So it's when I go through at BSO on X, on Twitter, or on Instagram, it's amazing some of the stories that comes out of blacksportsonline.com. And again, he's got his book out, and so he's chasing the dream of being someone that's writing a novel, Max Power, a Maxwell Powers mystery. Very, very interesting for sure. We are brought to you by Alexander James Whiskey, the official whiskey of Under the Hood with John the Hood. Make sure you go to alexanderjameswhiskey.com. We'll have the link in the bio, so that way you'll know where to buy Alexander James Whiskey. And again, the owners of Alexander James Whiskey, they support us. So I want you, the Under the Hood viewer and listener, to support them. All right. We will talk to you next time. Don't forget, we'll get a chance to talk some college football, SEC style. We'll have that as far as a program. And we had LA versus Space the other day. Those guys, my God, that show, the debate show that we have here on Under the Hood, make sure you check that out. Just like, share, subscribe, and comment, and watch some of our videos. And please comment and let everyone know your thoughts about Under the Hood with John the Hood. We'll talk to you next time right here on UTH. So long, everybody. Yo, God.